The story of a Hollywood serial killer who eluded the police for 15 whole years. Today's story is about a rather clever serial killer who has been committing crimes for 15 years without leaving a trace, no evidence, nothing that the police can get him through. The events of the story began in 2001, specifically in Los Angeles, America, which is considered the home of the famous Hollywood. And we got to know each other. Ashley Aaron, who was 22 years old, she was a resident. Ashley is a student in the specialty of design and fashion, and her friends ate about her. They say that she is a strict person and always focused on her goals and what to give up, and she was intent that she was building a very strong career in her specialty. Based on that, she was studying at the Los Angeles Design Institute, in addition to taking additional courses at the University of California. She also worked part-time to cover her expenses and worked as a dancer, meaning her days were always full, and she had no free time at all. The house she lived in was a shared residence with one of her friends, and the location of the house was very close to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Because of the place she lived in and her connections, she was able to personally connect with Hollywood celebrities. She even dated Vin Diesel for a short period, and later she became involved with Jeremy Sisto, who took her along to the shooting of one of his movies. In December 2000, she met a 23-year-old actor named Ashton Kutcher. This period marked the beginning of Ashton's fame, with the TV shows he was starring in becoming trending, and people started to know and love him more and more. They got to know each other through mutual friends, meaning she knew someone who knew him, and these mutual acquaintances introduced them to each other, and things progressed from there. Now, let's go back to February 21, 2001. Because on this day, Ashton had a Grammy Awards party. After the awards ceremony, he was invited to an after-party. On the same day, he talked to Ashley and promised her that he would come out with her after the after-party. They agreed on the time they would meet, and everything seemed fine. However, when the agreed-upon time came, Ashton called his girlfriend to tell her that he would be a little late for their planned outing. She said it was okay because she was getting ready herself. At 10:15 p.m., Ashton called his girlfriend again, but she didn't answer. Since he was going to her place, he didn't pay much attention to the situation and went to her house. Upon reaching the house, he saw her car parked in front of it, and the lights were on, indicating she should be at home. He knocked on the door several times, but she didn't open. Unable to get a glimpse through the window, he noticed the house was very messy, and there was red paint on the floor. However, this didn't arouse his curiosity much, as she had previously mentioned that she was rearranging and working on her house, so the mess was justifiable to him. After knocking on the door and calling multiple times without any response, he left, thinking that maybe she was upset with him for being late, or that she had fallen asleep, considering it a normal occurrence. He didn't consider that the situation might be serious, so he went about his business as usual. The next morning, Ashton's girlfriend went to the house and was shocked by a horrifying scene. Her friend was dead, with blood filling the room. Her head was almost severed due to multiple stab wounds, and it was later revealed that she had been stabbed 47 times. As the police began investigating the crime scene, they asked neighbors if they heard or saw anything unusual. The neighbors responded that they hadn't seen anyone, but they heard screams around 8:30 p.m. However, they thought it was just party noise or something normal. The first person the police questioned was Ashton's Hollywood star friend because his fingerprints were found on the room's door. When asked about his presence, he explained the details mentioned earlier and justified his fingerprints. After further questioning, the police confirmed he was not involved and ruled him out as a suspect. The second person brought in for questioning was the owner of the house where Ashley lived. After a few questions, it became clear that he was not involved either, so he was also ruled out. Therefore, the police had to reconsider the case and explore theories. One striking observation was the absence of signs of forced entry or burglary. It seemed that Ashley had opened the door for her assailant. Opening the door late at night suggested that she knew the person, so the question arose, who could it be? One of the individuals mentioned, who was a friend of Ashley's and was brought up to the police, is Michael the Frenchman. Ashley had often complained about him, stating that he was annoying, bothered her a lot, and tried to get close to her and her belongings. However, even this person had no connection to the case. After months of investigation, the police finally identified a suspect, and the name was Michael Garguilo. Around the same time, the Los Angeles Police Department began questioning Michael in connection to the case. During their inquiry, they received a call from the Illinois State Police, informing them that they were investigating a cold case from 1993, and the suspect in that case, residing in Los Angeles, was a person named Michael Garguilo. The case from Illinois also involved the murder of a girl named Tricia Picacho in 1993 when she was 18 years old. On August 13, 1993, a Friday night, Tricia was out with her friends celebrating the completion of their high school studies. Each of them was heading to a different university, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. By 1 a.m. on that day, Tricia and her friends had all reached their respective homes. Tricia was supposed to return to her own house as well, and although she arrived, she did not make it back alive. The first person who saw her body was her father. He had stepped outside the house to take the dog for a walk, and the first thing he saw when he went out was his daughter's lifeless body. Unfortunately, her condition was dire. Her arms were broken, and she had been stabbed approximately 50 times. Additionally, she was clutching the key to her house in her hand, indicating that the assailant likely attacked her while she was at her doorstep. She was holding the key, intending to open the door and enter her home, but she didn't make it. According to her family, she was a very kind and good-natured girl, and she didn't have any enemies. They couldn't think of anyone who might have a motive to harm her or any names to provide to the police as potential suspects. The police requested to investigate anyone who had been in contact with her before her death, and Michael Garguilo was one of those individuals. At the time of the investigation, the police questioned him, and he informed them that he had visited her 2 days before her death in a very normal manner. Her family was aware of him, and he used to visit them without any issues. Nothing seemed to be against him. When the police from both states compared the details and events of the two cases, they found striking similarities. They believed it was highly unlikely that these similarities were coincidental. Consequently, Michael Garguilo became a wanted individual in both states, and a widespread search ensued. The search for him took months, but eventually, the police managed to apprehend him. When they arrested him, they requested a DNA sample, but he refused, stating that he wouldn't provide a sample without an official court or police order. Indeed, the police did not have the authority to take such action without tangible evidence against him, so they couldn't proceed. Although the police suspected his involvement in the crimes, they lacked concrete evidence. Consequently, they released him but started to keep him under surveillance. After a period of observation, they learned that he had fallen ill and was admitted to the hospital. Upon his discharge, they secretly went to the hospital and requested to take a DNA sample from him. Finally, after a prolonged wait, the results showed that the DNA found under Tricia's nails matched Michael Garguilo's DNA. Following this revelation, the police responsible for the case reported to higher authorities to obtain an arrest warrant for Michael Garguilo. The justification was that they had DNA evidence confirming a match. However, due to the manner in which they obtained the DNA, the higher-ups in the police hierarchy refused to grant them an arrest warrant. They simply stated that the DNA could be tampered with or manipulated, so they couldn't take any action at all. The police responsible for the case were convinced of Michael's involvement, and were doing their best to bring him to justice. However, they faced significant obstacles. After being denied the necessary authority, they decided to delve deeper into his past, hoping to find any additional information that could assist them in the case. During their investigation, they discovered that Michael was born in Illinois in 1976 into a relatively large family with 7 siblings. Michael claimed that he had been physically abused by his siblings and father when he was young, but this information couldn't be verified. In his teenage years, Michael was known to be a bully and had a hostile demeanor towards people, quickly becoming aggressive when angered. One of his friends informed the police that Michael, due to his violent nature, would transform into a different person when angered, losing all human decency. He had been arrested multiple times during his school years for charges such as theft and breaking into cars. Michael had a fascination with the notorious killer Ted Bundy, avidly reading books about him and forensic science, learning about how crime scenes were processed and evidence collected. After acquiring extensive knowledge on the subject, Michael began to boast about his understanding, claiming to his friends that if the police ever caught him, they wouldn't be able to find any evidence against him because he knew how to eliminate all traces. They also found out that after Trisha's murder in 1993, Michael frequented her family's house, giving gifts to her siblings and family. On one occasion, he spent 4 consecutive hours with her brother, pretending that he wanted to open up and share his feelings. However, during those 4 hours, he didn't reveal anything. They also found out that after Trisha's murder in 1993, Michael frequented her family's house, giving gifts to her siblings and family. On one occasion, he spent 4 consecutive hours with her brother, pretending that he wanted to open up and share his feelings. However, during those 4 hours, he didn't reveal anything. The information was sourced directly from Trisha's family, who were personally puzzled by her actions. They contacted investigators and informed them about her. Unfortunately, until now, they haven't been able to pin anything on him, and time has passed with the cases closed. In 1997, the police arrested Michael on charges of car theft. At that time, they attempted to strike a deal with him, offering to help reduce his sentence if he provided details about Trisha's case. However, he consistently refused to cooperate and remained tight-lipped. In 1998, Michael moved to Los Angeles with the goal of becoming a famous actor in Hollywood. Achieving his goal quickly was unlikely, so upon arriving in Los Angeles, he took a job in a bar. However, he was swiftly fired after a very short period for assaulting a customer. His aggressive behavior extended to everyone, even the girls he was involved with. He would physically harm and threaten them, boasting about his ability to kill anyone and hide all evidence. During his time working at the bar, he made friends, and one day, a friend who worked with him asked him a question. "Have you ever killed anyone in your life?" The strange thing is that Mike answered, admitting to killing a girl named Trisha in 1993. However, due to Mike's reputation as a liar, aggressor, and bully, no one believed him, thinking it was just another false claim. In the year 2000, he met Ashley, whom we mentioned at the beginning, as she lived just 1 street away from his workplace. They first crossed paths when Ashley's car broke down, and Mike offered to help her. From then on, he persistently pursued her, spending his entire day at her doorstep, monitoring her every move. Despite all these clues in the passing years, the police still haven't been able to apprehend Mike. As time went on to the year 2005, a 32-year-old woman named Maria Bruno, who had 4 children, separated from her husband due to a dispute. She moved to a new house in Los Angeles on her own. She told people that she chose this specific house because it was very safe and suitable for her and her 4 children, the oldest being 5 years old. Just 10 days after moving into this supposedly secure home, her husband called 911, reporting that he found his wife murdered inside their house. When the police arrived at the house and began investigating, they discovered that she had been stabbed 17 times. The killer had broken into the house through the kitchen window, taking a knife from the same kitchen to commit the crime. Most likely, the perpetrator was left-handed, using his left hand in daily life. Of course, the first person the police suspected was her husband. Firstly, because he was the one who called and reported her, and secondly, there were conflicts between them, leading to their divorce. However, when they asked him about why he was in the house, he told them that he was talking to her to reconcile and that they had dinner together the night before, trying to work things out and get their lives back on track. The police noticed a bloodstain from Maria in his car. When asked about it, he explained that when they were leaving the restaurant where they had dinner, she cut her hand, and some people from the restaurant came to help. He even suggested asking them if they didn't believe him. Indeed, the police questioned the restaurant workers and confirmed that everything he said was true, and he had no connection to his wife's murder. After ruling him out as a suspect, the case seemed to be going cold, with no one else considered suspicious. However, Maria's neighbors intervened at the right time, informing the police that a person living opposite her was behaving very strangely towards her. These odd behaviors escalated shortly before her death. When asked about the name of this person, unfortunately, the neighbors didn't know. However, when questioned about his features, they were able to provide a description. When the police drew the sketches based on the neighbors' descriptions, the features matched those of Michael Garguilo. However, this sketch was by no means considered concrete evidence, and there was no tangible evidence against anyone. The case remained unresolved without any further actions. Finally, in April 2008, 3 years after the incident, Michelle, a 26-year-old woman, woke up to find a stranger in her bedroom attacking her with a knife. Despite Michelle being weaker compared to Michael, she tried to defend herself, screaming and attempting to grab the knife with her hands to prevent him from stabbing her. Unfortunately, he managed to stab her multiple times, and she began to bleed. However, despite this, Michelle gathered all her strength and struck him with a powerful kick, causing him to fall to the ground. Afterward, he apologized and left the room. The criminal thought she would die shortly, but Michelle didn't succumb. She called her friend, who then contacted emergency services, and they arrived in time. During Michelle's defense against the attacker, she managed to make him injure himself with his own knife. When the police took the blood and analyzed it, they found that it matched Michael Garguilo's blood. Finally, Michael was officially arrested on charges of attempting to murder Michelle. Additionally, he was accused of the murders of the 3 previous victims over 15 years, due to a perfect DNA match, leading to his charges. Now that he was finally apprehended, he might have thought that the situation would be resolved, and he would face the consequences for his actions. Unfortunately, the situation was very complicated because his first victim was in Illinois, and the rest were in Los Angeles. This meant he had to attend separate trial sessions for each state, since U.S. law separates states and legal matters. This caused delays in his trial. Michael had a team of lawyers to secure his innocence. He even attempted to escape from prison, but his attempt was unsuccessful. His defense team argued that he was insane during the crimes to lessen his sentence. They claimed he was not mentally sound and tried to minimize his punishment. However, the court affirmed that he was fully conscious and mentally sound. They gathered over 3,600 pages of evidence against him for the trial. They even brought Ashton Kutcher, who was a friend of his second victim, to testify in the case. Despite all this, his defense maintained that there was no concrete evidence against him in Ashley's house. They argued that the prosecution was merely creating random connections to implicate him, emphasizing a lack of tangible proof. The trial faced numerous ups and downs, taking a long time. Despite these challenges, the court insisted he was the perpetrator in all 4 crimes. They even suggested there might be more victims yet undiscovered, possibly reaching a total of 10. After years of waiting, around 28 years, the court sentenced him to death, though it's currently with a stay of execution. California has had a moratorium on executions since 2006, so the death penalty has not been carried out. Nevertheless, he remains in prison, and execution is possible at any moment. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and activate the bell. We provide an audiobook every week to help you relax, share a true story, and present a daily riddle. I hope you support us to continue.